Hip-hop. Anonymous.
Saturdays.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another very, very special Sapo Studios Scratch Track Saturday. We are coming to you live from beautiful Burbank, California. Welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with us today. As you may or may not know, we are Sapo Studios. Our goal is to bring the majority of profits and ownership rights back into the hands of artists in a world driven by corporate entities. And hopefully we can do that. We are bringing new and established artists into the space so that you can hear all about their lives and their journeys. And today we are very, very pleased to have Christina Aguinaga. How are you? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Well, actually, that's my Twitter name for short.
Oh.
But it's short for, as is in my handle, Christina Aginaga.
Aginaga. Okay, cool.
Where are you from? What's your nationality?
Well, my nationality is mixed, just like so many other Americans, because my family's been in this country since the early 1900s. Well, at least my mother's side of the family. My father's side of the family didn't get here until, I want to say, mid-1920s. But that name in particular, Aginaga, is Basque, and that is Euskadi, which is the language of the Basque people in the Pyrenees Mountains in between France and Spain.
That's really interesting.
Have you ever visited that part of the world?
I have not, but I want to because it's a 30,000-year-old language, and it is not it's not a Germanic language. It's not a Romantic language. It's with its own language and culture. But as so many names have evolved over the years, Aginaga was originally spelled without a U, but the Spanish went in and go ahead and they added the U. In some cases, you'll even see the tilde on the N when you see some spellings. And to this day, the Basques are still trying to get their independence from Spain, and that's sort of an ongoing battle.
I don't know what it was, and there are a lot of things that make me weird, and this is definitely one of them. But learning Spanish, the tilde was my favorite.
Oh, why though?
I love the tilde. I don't know. The enye sound is great. Like, it's just a great little addition to any word. So tilde it up. I love the tilde.
All right, let's tilde,
let's
baby.
tilde it up. Okay, so I have to ask you about the whole woman in red aesthetic thing, because when I first met you were yeah. That's right. That's what I've been thinking in my head all morning too. Yeah, but when I first met you, you were
Dave,
wearing.
just so you know, nobody in Spaces can hear me because you haven't brought me up as a speaker.
Oh, they can hear you.
They can hear you.
Oh, they can?
Because they can hear you through ours.
Yeah, we're all looped
We're
in
all
through a
we're all
board.
going
This
in.
is
yeah.
Oh, so even though it has me as a listener on Spaces,
Yep.
they can hear me in
Right.
Spaces.
Yep.
You're coming out of the microphone of Shea Papoose, which I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh!
Yep.
Oh, my
broadcasting
goodness.
live.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're all set up.
I love it.
Okay, so in terms of the whole lady in red aesthetic, when I first met you, I saw you in this beautiful red dress, and then today you walk up and you have this gorgeous red blouse on with the lipstick and the glasses with the red frames that match and the red shoes. Where does the lady in red thing come from, and was this calculated or you just love red?
Honestly, it was just when I was taking a branding class during the pandemic, because like so many Americans, all my income was ruined.
Yep.
Just part of as we were learning about how to incorporate personal brand for voiceover, because I thought, well, I'm going to find some way to make income from home. The class that I took, he said that, colors were part of branding. And I wasn't over intellectualizing it. I was just like, well, I do tend to go through phases where I am drawn to other colors, for different periods of time. But I noticed that no matter what I'm going through in my life, that I'm always drawn to red, that it makes me feel warm. And it really wasn't any more intellectualized than that. I realized over time that there are so many different cultural associations with the color. And I'm like, well, that does kind of work,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
this all applies. But no, that's great. And it was a good choice, I think, because what it made me think of initially was in the movie The Matrix. They programmed the lady in red into the digital program that Neo first goes into, and that's the thing that distracts him. And the lady in red will always grab your eye, is like this idea. And I think it is like an eye-catching color that, turns people's heads.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you mentioned The Matrix, because you're not the first person that has mentioned that to me. So I've always been a musician, but the gentleman who first introduced me to the concept that I needed to also become a visual digital artist, his name is Josh. He goes by Show Me Your NFT on Twitter. He does marketing for several different projects, but he told me that when he would tell people where to meet up and where to be able to locate one of the meetups that he and I were at specifically, or that where I originally met him in Venice, he used to say to people in his spaces, just look for the lady in red and you'll find us. And that's how he would tell people so they wouldn't get lost.
That's cool.
And those
You were
people
like the flag.
said,
You were like the flag in the sky.
Yep.
yeah, but
Yeah.
those people said, hey, are you making a Matrix reference? They accused him of that.
That's really funny.
So you said you've always been into music. Where are you from originally?
I was born here
Oh, okay.
in beautiful California.
In beautiful
Nice.
California. And at what age did you start singing?
I probably started singing around, I want to say 9 or 10. Probably 10.
So we recently had an artist on named Pat Dimitri, who is a phenomenal guitarist. And you would think when listening to his music that he's like this prodigy, that the music just has always been in him. But he says that he practiced and was not initially good at guitar and got to this point. So did you have a sense of natural talent when you first started singing, or was it something that you kind of practiced and got to a place where you felt like you could be a professional singer?
Well, I personally think that the whole concept of natural talent is so overused. And so in some ways,
How do you mean?
it's misunderstood in a lot of ways. My grandfather, who was a professional opera singer, he played the devil in Faust, if you're familiar with that iconic French opera. He was my first voice teacher. I used to go to his house when I was younger until, he died of a heart attack, about 6 months later, so sadly. But he always used to say to me, he said, you will practice, and that is how you will be good. And people will say to you, oh, it must be natural talent. But I've always practiced, and perhaps there is a natural talent there, but it doesn't matter without discipline.
Well, yeah, and like you're saying, natural talent still has to be fostered and cared for, and there's still growth to be had. I mean, my brother, as I mentioned to you before the show, is also an opera singer, and he's got a fantastic voice, but he still needs to train, and he still needs to make sure that his voice, stays in tune, so to speak, and that he can still do his thing. So how much does exercise play a role into your singing? Because I know that there's such breath control that's involved, especially with opera singing.
Oh, so are you pertaining specifically to exercises that we do vocally, which are often referred to as vocalizes, or physical exercises?
I was actually talking about physical exercises because
Like
I'd
cardio.
imagine
You're talking like cardio.
Yeah, I'd imagine like there's a certain amount of just physical activity that you have to do to keep your
Do you
instrument
ride a bicycle?
at its top performance.
I'll tell you something. When I started exercising more vigorously, when I started lifting weights, when I started doing all kinds of things in the gym with the ropes and jump rope and everything else, I noticed that I had a lot more power than before and stamina. And as one of my other teachers said, anyone can sing anyway for an hour. But after that, it takes proper stamina. And so I would definitely say that physical exercise obviously has so many physical benefits, but as we often also have found out over time, that it has several mental benefits that are
Absolutely.
beneficial.
Yeah,
Right.
unquestionably. With respect to getting into opera singing, that's not something that when someone decides they're going to be a singer, especially at a young age, they're like, oh, I'm going to sing opera. Because, especially the younger generations, that's not necessarily the music that they gravitate towards. So was it simply the fact that your grandfather was interested in that music and was a performer as well that you gravitated towards that?
Oh, absolutely not. he had a vision for me that I was going to be a country singer.
No kidding.
I'm actually not kidding, which I thought was hilarious. When I was 14 and I was at a studio that had singing and dancing, which is rare because most studios either have singing or they have dancing, but not both. The teacher, the woman that I had as part of my group class, she would all give us different songs to work on. And she just said, here's an aria. It's called O mio babino carro. It's in Italian. I
O mio
want you to
babino
learn it."
carro. Like that.
But yeah, I mean, like, I didn't have a choice. Like so many things in life, I don't come at things from a perspective of, well, I want this or I want that. I think it's so important for us to listen to what our community is asking us to do. And when one person asks, it's depending on whoever it is, if I have a certain level of respect for that person or something seems interesting, I'll try it out. But if 2 people or 3 people start asking you to do something, that's a clue that you need to hone in, because ultimately we are, all connected, through the grace of science. All living things are interconnected. And so the goal should be to see how we can help our communities in the way that we have been asked to help our communities.
I love that. And, Dave here has kind of opened my eyes to listening to the messages of your surroundings a lot more, and whether that be the universe or your community. I think that is really important, to just be in tune with what's being put in front of you, and especially if it's repetitive. There must be a reason for that this thing keeps being asked of you or being put in front of you. I think that's great. In terms of opera singing, did you only sing in one language, or did you have to learn several languages once you started to really get into opera?
Well, of course you have to learn other languages. The main languages that opera is in is French, Spanish, French, German, and Italian. Those are the 3 main ones. But you will see, obviously the Wagner operas are in German. Wait, I did say German already, didn't I?
Yes.
I'm repeating myself.
That's okay.
Well, there are some in
There
Spanish.
must be a sign
Yes.
here.
There's if we're getting into Villalobos, then it's more the Portuguese. And there were obviously the English operas with Henry Purcell, back a few hundred years ago, and I think people often forget about that. But I think most
And of course,
people,
Carmen, like you said, in Spanish.
well, that's in French.
Oh.
Bizet is
See?
the French
I don't know
opera
anything.
about Spanish.
Well, it's a good thing that you're the opera expert here and not me.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert on anything, and I'm not saying that because I possess some sort of false humility. It's because we are living in an age of information where it is moving extremely quickly, especially as technology is evolving at the speed of light. So for anyone to claim they are an expert, especially in this age, run very far away.
Yeah, I think that's a really
That's
good
so
point.
true. It's like we're all students, right? It's like we're
Yeah,
all
students of the world.
Yeah, we're all learning.
Beginner mind, Zen mind.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. So did you find a love for opera as you started to sing more of it? Because, you said that it was kind of thrust upon you in the sense of the teacher said, try this aria. And so you start singing in that direction. Was that something that, okay, she feels that I have an affinity for this, so I'm going to keep doing this, and it's working out vocally for me, but it's not really my passion? Or did you fall in love with it?
I didn't fall in love with it right there because I wasn't introduced to any aspects of it. It was just like, oh, here's an opera, here we go. The culture of the studio that I was in at the time was very much musical theater. And that was really more of the focus that they were pushing people to do. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the 2 business owners that ran the place, the daughter of one of the business owners was well into theater, and she did national tours. And so that's why that culture was really pushed upon us. And there's a lot of beautiful things about musical theater. If you think about it, it's really the only genre that incorporates all genres of music.
Yeah.
Which is really incredible. But the appreciation of opera, that came a little later in life. And the interest and the love of it.
And, some people will say that opera is somewhat of a dying art. What's your feeling about that? Because, music in general, there are people that say rock is dead, which I don't necessarily agree with that. There are tons of up-and-coming rock bands that are fantastic. We've had some of them on the show, be it Philip Fraser from Maid of Mana. We had Caravan 222, which, they're kind of a country blues sound, but there's still a little bit rock in there.
Some rock going.
And yeah, I mean, there's definitely rock musicians out there that are still thriving, and I think the music is. And I think there's still a place for opera. But do you feel that to a certain respect it's a dying art?
Would you say a dying art is one that monetizes and brings in millions of dollars every year?
Does it still?
Yes.
Or and is that on the decline at all? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be combative in the sense.
I know you're not, but you are being combative because you have a background in sales,
right?
As we discussed earlier. It's our job to bring about rebuttals.
Right. Right. That is true. I'm naturally combative and I can't help it, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. You are. Yeah. It just comes out without thinking.
But the pandemic killed a lot of businesses, and I would say it definitely hit the opera really hard. My brother was accepted into a professional company in Virginia. He was really looking forward into venturing into the professional opera world. That entire company shut down, and a lot of other programs shut down throughout that period of time. I know that there are certain programs that he helped to do fundraising for because there was kind of no money left in these programs and they were going to shut down otherwise. So I got this sense that there was a need for an influx of attention and interest into this industry.
Well,
but maybe that's a misperception.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a misperception. First, answer me another question. Was your brother...
Riddle me this.
Riddle me this. Riddle me that. Dave, was your brother speaking to local opera companies that are small, that are mostly funded by the community?
Could be. I mean, I don't know the intricacies of it, and that's very possible because a lot of the companies that he took part in were in Colorado and like Idaho Springs and smaller places that probably did have an influx of money coming from the community initially.
And there's nothing wrong with that in particular, but bigger companies like Metropolitan Opera in New York or LA Opera here, those certainly, I'm sure, as we know, every live musician took a hit during the pandemic for obvious reasons. But a lot of these companies are still here to stay. And so even though they experienced difficulty, a lot of these companies are still around. I wouldn't say that it's a dying art just because the pandemic shut down businesses.
Well, no, and I guess I also say that because I'm curious with newer generations if it's any harder to sort of induct people into the opera world because, like I said, it's not necessarily the thing that young people gravitate towards initially, or most, it seems, when you start out listening to music. So I'm wondering if it's like hard to get new people to be interested in that kind of music to begin with.
Well, I wouldn't say it's hard as much as it's just not something that's part of public school curriculum.
Right.
However, LA Opera is smart in a lot of ways, and I'm not just saying this because I love LA Opera, and I did get to see Aida, which was mind-blowing. But they literally have education outreach programs.
By the way, I love your sing-songy nature and how that just comes out sometimes.
Are you going to sing for us today?
I don't have a good voice, but I'll try.
Yeah, you do. Dave, you're great. I mean...
But anyway, we digress.
Well, no, because
he's got a wonderful voice.
He does, and he's just like, you're fishing for compliments, Dave.
Yeah.
We have... Because of the outreach programs at these schools, those schools that are exposed to it, they're getting that I don't want to say exposure because that's redundant, but whatever.
Enrichment.
Yes, enrichment. They're getting that enrichment, and they actually get to do productions where they perform with the professionals. And when I was student teaching, in downtown, well, it was East LA, I got to rehearse with them, and that was part of my student teaching experience, and I was overjoyed to see them getting to have experiences with the kids, that the kids had to realize what it took to put together a professional production, because in order to be professional and in order to be leveled up, you have to work with people that are better than you. So
absolutely.
So for the kids to have experience like that is great. And the more schools or not just schools, but just any place where kids can be exposed to this kind of thing, they're going to understand the value of it, and they're going to think that it's cool. But just in general, as we know, a lot of these, music programs that schools don't necessarily fund. But I will say, on a positive note, I have noticed the writing on the wall is that a lot of nonprofit programs are bringing music to schools.
Oh, that's great. So there is hope for the arts.
Well, there's hope for everything. Without hope, what do we have?
Nothing.
I am the nothing. From the Neverending Story?
Yes, I love that movie.
I do too. It's one of my favorites.
Falcor is like the best being to ever exist.
Some people say my dog looks like Falcor.
Does your dog look like Falcor?
Some people say that, yes.
I want to see your dog.
I don't know if I
Never ending story.
Na 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 na.
Okay, so was there a moment
Is it Falcor?
that she
Your
does
dog
look like
does
Falcor?
not look like Falcor.
A little bit.
Okay.
It's in the cheeks.
I don't think so either. But it's just been told.
Okay, so
She's cuter than
I'm
Falcor.
curious.
She is cuter than Falcor.
Well,
I
yeah,
love it.
Falcor was kind of like a doofy beast to a certain respect.
Actually, you were the person that showed me that movie.
Really?
Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Because you were like, you've never seen The Never-Ending Story? You're like,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
have to
it's-
watch this. You sang it to me. Back then. He's a sing-songy guy.
Yeah, sometimes
He is.
I can be when I'm feeling silly.
Your life is a musical.
Is it really?
Well, we've talked about maybe
Caesar's
making
empanadas.
making some. That's a reference to we were just in Manhattan, and I saw this Caesar's empanadas truck, and I was singing it to the tune of Super Mario Brothers, Caesar's empanadas, and it just got stuck in my head. Very silly.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
Your life is a musical.
Yes.
And
Well-
it kind of like bleeds onto everyone else's life, and then we walk around singing your stupid songs.
That is very true. All right, let's get back to serious business. Was there a point at which, a moment that you felt, okay, this is a career path for me in terms of singing? Or from the moment you started singing, you knew that that's what you wanted to do with the rest of your life?
Well, the rest of my life is a long time, isn't it?
That is a very long
True.
time.
And
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of like a passion statement or like a passion question. Is like you're like 10 years old and you're like, oh, I want to be a singer. But it's like, at what point do you realize that like you can actually like do it professionally, make money? And
I started professionally making money at singing since I was 12 years old.
wow.
But prior to that, the studio that we were training at always said, guys, be professional, have a professional attitude. So, and I noticed that other kids not only had professional attitudes when we did performances, but other kids were actually working in professional productions with adults. And I was like, oh, so part of professionalism isn't just getting paid. It's a mindset.
Yeah.
It's a way of being. Wow, I get it. And so, of course, getting paid was, it's part of it too. So from the time I started getting paid, my aim was to always keep getting paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you can kind of take a step back and be as objective like this in terms of your own path, but did that take any of the joy out of it? Do you think that it was from the beginning a sense of professionalism and not, just having fun with the music? Or was it both?
Does having goals take the joy out of life?
No, but sometimes I love your response thing
I'm
we
in
got
sales
going
too.
on.
We
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah.
this.
Well, it's also in my culture, it's a very Jewish thing to answer a question with a question. So I'm loving it.
Wait, you're Jewish? I
I
couldn't tell
am.
from the last name.
No, David Goldman. Who would have thought?
I mean,
it?
who would have
Tell
thought?
you offered me bagels as soon as I
Yeah,
walked
yeah.
in.
You walk in, we got bagels and schmear. Okay, so at some point, you decide that you're going to take this thing that's been around for a really long time, opera, and you're going to blend it with something that's been around for a very short time, which is cryptocurrency and the blockchains. So explain to me what the impetus for that merging was and what this project that you're cultivating now is.
Well, as I got more into blockchain, I got introduced to a variety of different blockchains. And when I was pulled into Violetta Zironi's Twitter Spaces.
Shout out to Violetta. We've had her on the show. She's fantastic.
She was here with you guys.
Unfortunately,
in LA?
we did a remote interview. We would have loved to have had her in studio, but hopefully one day.
Yeah, at some point, I'm sure when she's in LA.
No, so through a Twitter space that I was in, Kirk DeSoto,
He's also been on the show.
I love him.
We've also had him on the show. I love how the community is intertwined like that. That's awesome.
Community.
It's
such a beautiful word, don't you think?
It really is.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bad little inside joke. But so Kirk said, "Hey, you need to get into Violetta Spaces. She needs to hear you." And after that happened, I got introduced to what she was doing that was positive for crypto. And one of those positive things that she did was put the first vocal piece on Bitcoin. There was instrumentals previously, but she was the first song. And as I got more into the culture of understanding the importance of Bitcoin, because Troy Kalak,
Also been on the show.
I know. Troy, he never shut up about Bitcoin. Like every time I'd see him, he'd be like, "Yo, Christina, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin."
Hey
Bitcoin."
Alexa,
so funny.
what's the price of Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's so funny. I've never heard him mention Bitcoin. I'm just messing, Troy.
Yeah, but Troy never shut up about it. And I was like, all right, I'll get on the Bitcoin blockchain. So a combination of seeing what she had done and Troy always just being so vocal about Bitcoin. He actually is in a show where he's one of the co-hosts called Ordinals Are Dead.
Yeah.
He has several Ordinals projects that he's part of. And really the Bitcoin community they were so welcoming to me. And I saw just in general how part of the culture is pushing innovation. And an artist, Remo Camarota, who you guys have had on the show previously. Have you also had Remo?
That's actually the first one you mentioned that we haven't had, and I've never heard of Remo.
You met Remo. We met Remo at the Ordinals event.
Okay, that I feel bad because I don't.
The Australian guy who speaks so beautifully all the time.
I should remember him. I feel badly that I don't, but
Oh,
I'll have to.
I'm gonna tell him.
We'll have to get him on the show.
Yeah, I think
you will when he comes back from Japan on the 28th of March.
Okay, cool.
But Remo was saying, this ethos of Bitcoin right now, it's like the ethos that Ethereum used to have. This is amazing. I have to get on Bitcoin too. I hope he's not hating me for imitating him right now, but it's okay.
I'm loving
You're
it.
doing a great job.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
But okay, so I'm going to ask you a bit of a controversial question.
Ooh, I love controversy.
Okay, so people were all fired up about Ethereum, and you mentioned that it's got the ethos of what Ethereum had. So does this feel okay? I guess it's a several part question. The first part is and this is all your perspective. None of this is necessarily hardcore.
Just
this
ask
is
the
the
question,
truth. Okay,
man.
yeah. Sorry, I do that sometimes. Okay, so is the whole Ethereum thing dead? Do you think it's coming back? And what makes this Bitcoin thing, with reference to it pairing with the NFTs and everyone moving towards that, different?
Would you just call inscriptions NFTs?
I know that's the other.
That's a
faux
cardinal
pas.
sin, bro.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
You
true.
just showed how noob you are.
Yeah,
Actually.
I really did. But okay, regardless of what you want to call it, NFTs, inscriptions, doodads, digital doodads, are these JPEGs, bro? Yeah, are these digital doodads any better than the other digital doodads we had?
I think you know the answer to that question.
I maybe, but I want to hear Christina's perspective.
Because your doodad did pretty good.
My doodad did do pretty good.
I mean, how can Ethereum be dead if Vitalik Buterin literally created Ethereum in response to Bitcoin?
Oh, mic drop.
Damn, that was good.
How could it be
good.
dead?
That was good.
Okay, so it's not dead. You heard it here first, folks.
Well, look
Question with a question.
Yeah, I know.
Bam!
Bam! Eat it.
But look at the market value of Ethereum right now. Does it look dead to you?
No.
No, it looks like it's coming back, but I don't know if that's a momentary rise because Bitcoin is gaining attraction now and people are like, oh, well, this must be important too if Bitcoin is important and maybe we'll bring this back, or if it's actually going to thrive in the way that people thought it was for so long.
Well, as my muse and my sweetheart mentioned to me, haven't you noticed how Bitcoin always leads the market? So when Bitcoin starts doing well, everything else starts doing well. And so I see that Ethereum is also doing very well. So if Ethereum is dead, that would mean that Bitcoin is dead, but that is actually inaccurate, as we can see from the numbers, because numbers don't lie.
I think Christina just like Dr.
Just keep
Seuss does.
throwing the mic on the ground.
So to you, what was the importance of combining opera and the blockchain, and why did you feel like you wanted to make this release?
Well, because I wanted to stay within the ethos of what the Bitcoin blockchain is pushing, which is trailblazing, doing new things. That's part of just the ethos of who I am anyways. But also, why wouldn't I want to put the first opera performance on the blockchain in or on the very first blockchain?
That is really cool.
It's remarkable. And why
So-
do you
so-
think
so
no
that-
one's done that yet?
Because she already did it.
Yeah, because I did it, so nobody else can do it.
So no one else can be the first.
Period.
You know, like, drop the mic again. Hurry.
Boom!
Sorry, I'm a little slow today.
That's awesome. So like that's a statistic that we can write in the books, that you're the first ever opera singer to inscribe
On Bitcoin.
on Bitcoin.
That's some history.
That's really
there.
cool.
That's amazing.
But there is opera on Ethereum already. Like, I already know that because when I was
But
trying...
Ethereum's only relevant because of Bitcoin.
Well, that is actually true. But, it's okay. It's like, well, I felt kind of bad that nobody had done it on Bitcoin yet because it's already been happening with Ethereum. And I'm like, Bitcoin needs to get on top of it, and I need to help them, so somebody's got to do it. I'm not going to wait around for somebody to do it, so it may as well be me.
So in addition to going to Sapo Studios XYZ and liking, commenting, and subscribing to all of our channels.
And retweeting.
And
the
retweeting
room.
the room. I would like everyone here today to definitely go and check out Christina Aguinaga's Twitter and kind of stay on top of it, because this drop will be coming soon. It's the first of its kind. It's revolutionary. And it's something that I definitely want to be a part of. So I think that everyone should kind of keep an eye out.
You want to be a part of it? Well, there's only one that's going to be for auction.
Really?
On gamma.io. So it's a one of one. I mean, should more than one person get to own this piece of history? I mean, what do you think?
So it's
Ooh.
going to be very expensive.
Ooh,
Well,
yeah.
it's-
It's going to start a bidding war.
Well, it's a descending auction. That's gamma.io is the platform that I've chosen. They are known for doing more fine art type of pieces, and they are the only platform out there that is doing the descending auction style. And you preset what the prices are going to be as the price drops when you set up an auction. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, because Brett, who works with gamma.io, I don't know if you have had Brett on the show.
We haven't. No.
He's also in Australia. He's
All right.
like, yeah, we're the first ones to do this. And I'm like, wow, Brett, that is so cool.
Crikey, it's the blockchain.
Crikey.
We need to have Brett on the show now, too.
I think
Come
we
on,
have
man.
to have a whole slew of Australians on the show.
As many as we can.
So, do you think that you're going to do more drops with respect to opera and the blockchain now, or is this just kind of like this solo piece of history, and you're going to just put that out and move on with just kind of traditional opera
Traditional opera.
off the blockchain,
Off the blockchain. Well,
Web 2 opera?
oh no.
Ew.
We are evolving into an era where we have to start thinking of more combining Web 2 and Web 3 and Web 1, and then also Web 4 and Web 5, which is coming out.
Oh boy,
So
I haven't even fully wrapped my head around Web 3 yet. We're getting Web 4 and Web 5.
Well-
Oh boy,
Well, my muse, who I mentioned earlier,
yes.
he sent me an article about all 5 stages, and I've been bad and I haven't read it yet.
Oh.
Oh, okay, well you'll have to send that over to us, and we'll have to read it together.
No, we'll read it together.
Yes.
It will be a beautiful experience.
It'll be beautiful.
But
be
yes,
educational.
why would I want to go back in technology when it's time for us to move forward?
Right.
As far as a career path is concerned for singing, you've found your home in opera. Does that mean that you only want to do opera career-wise, or do you enjoy other genres in terms of how they pair up with your voice, and are you interested in releasing anything in the other realms?
Did I say my home was only an opera?
No, you didn't.
Because it's not.
Okay,
Music is my home.
music is your home.
Wherever I'm at in the world, music is my home, because music has taken me all over the world.
Tell me about that. Where have you gotten as a result of music?
As a result of music, I was a singer and dancer who worked on the Big Red Boat as well as Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. We had the genres.
Did the Big Red Boat have anything to do with you ending up wearing red?
Oh my God. No.
Oh.
No.
Interesting.
They went bankrupt, okay?
Huh.
It's okay.
So it's just happened.
Yeah, just a
Happenstance.
coincidence.
Yeah.
No. It's just always been my favorite color.
Gravitated towards red.
Yeah.
The Big Red Boat.
Oh my God. You're hilarious. You're hilarious.
You're hilarious.
Sorry. I gotta stop doing that. Remo's gonna listen to this later and he's gonna hate me.
Oi, Remo. Listen up. Okay, so you were on the Big Red Boat, Caribbean Cruise Lines, and where in the world did those cruises take you?
Well, we were in Port Canaveral, which was the one where we did a 4-day cruise that was in Nassau and Lakaya. And part of that included Paradise Island in the Bahamas. I also had the opportunity to go to St. John, St. Thomas, Aruba, Curacao, Hutalco in Mexico, and Acapulco, Zihuatanejo, Ixtapa. We also went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, including getting to see the El Yunque rainforest, the Panama Canal, which...
So of all of the places that you visited, which was your favorite to sing in?
Favorite?
All of them.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, must I compare the experience of watching a glacier explode in the middle of the ocean in Alaska to the intense volcanoes in the islands of Hawaii?
Yes, you must. Which was better?
Or when I had the opportunity to be a resident solo singer and pianist when I was living in Japan in Mount Fuji. The city is Hakone, but Mount Fuji was the main thing right there. And I also got to visit Kamakura and Tokyo, as they say there when I was living there. See, the beauty of all of these places that you travel is the opportunity to learn, to be grateful for the unique moment and the unique experiences that you receive in any moment. And so, is one sunset better than the last?
You're getting way too deep for me. My head's going to pop. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of things that you could quantify as better or worse for a lot of different reasons. But I guess, if you want to live a more Zen lifestyle, then probably not. I don't live a very Zen lifestyle. I'm very analytical. So everything has to come out on one side or the other. And, it's not necessarily the best way to be. But I like to really, break down everything and determine where it falls.
Well, there is nothing wrong with being analytical. Certainly, I am analytical when I work with startups. Certainly, I'm analytical when I'm being strategic in how I'm going to approach different people for sales.
Sure.
But, it's sort of... because you have to be, especially when we're talking about competitors or when you're talking about how to make an experience better for a customer, or even if you're just trying to evolve an experience. But when I'm comparing one work of nature to another work of nature, I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not trying to sell a product. I'm just trying to be happy in that case.
That's fair. That's very fair. I totally lost my train of thought. That happens sometimes.
Maybe I can help you find your plane of thought then.
Oh.
Or your automobile of thought.
Perhaps you can.
Yeah.
Where are we headed?
Trains, and automobiles.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Bicycles, tricycles.
Awesome. Okay,
Unicycles.
so I understand that you're going to sing a little ditty for us, perhaps? Is that true, or am I making that up?
I don't know. I'm so shy. Can I?
Are you? You seem like a bashful
I actually
person.
had a question about that because you don't seem shy, and I feel like there's a big part of performance that comes from like not giving a shit what people think about you. I've had a hard time with that over like trying to perform and like be myself in front of people.
Yeah.
How do you struggle with that at all?
I mean, from time to time, I think we all get caught up in that. And we shouldn't, but it's something that happens. But you have to remind yourself, is the person that you're so worried about, their opinion, are they paying your bills? Do they care if you live or die tomorrow?
are they even paying attention?
Ooh, that was deep, Dave.
Ooh, you know?
Yeah.
Because we had Thomas Aaron on the show who was telling us that a lot of times we come up with these imaginary haters, as he calls them, in our heads. Because we haven't even put this thing out yet or created this piece. And already we're worried about who doesn't like it for what reason and where they are. But they don't even exist yet. Because no one's been able to experience it yet. So I think a lot of times we build some of these things up in our heads.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
Who told
Period.
Who told you that?
Period.
It's always like who told you that?
Who told me what?
Any of the bad things. It's like you told yourself that. You know?
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
it's
You're
like,
talking in hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who told
Well,
you?
but it's not just that you. Sometimes somebody can say something that's really
sticks with you.
that's mentally abusive, but at the end of the day, you have the choice as to whether or not you believe it. And
For we are the masters of our own destinies.
yes,
Okay, wait.
Falcor.
I did remember where I was going to go. So before we get into the singing thing, I did want to ask you, we've had other women on the show that talk about the difficulties of being a woman in any industry, but particularly in the entertainment industry, and how it's a very male-driven industry and how that kind of affects them navigating that. Have you experienced anything in terms of the difficulties of being a woman and navigating the entertainment industry?
I mean, maybe more when I was a little younger, and I definitely felt that whole boys club vibe when maybe 15 years ago, but I just don't see it as being so prevalent anymore. I mean, sure, that exists. And sometimes women are very quick to say, oh, well, he's not being nice to me because he's sexist. And even I've been guilty of saying that sometimes too. But then I would notice that other men would complain to me about how that man was also treating them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just not nice to anybody.
Yeah, so it's just like sometimes it's just the person, or sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, he was flirting with me, and it's like, well, you are attractive. I mean, what are you going to do? Wear a paper bag? So what you have to do is just how you would do with anyone, is set boundaries. If you want to, if that's somebody that you want to have a romantic relationship with, and you want to do business with them, flirt back. Kathleen Brightman and Arthur Brightman are, to me, a model power couple in Web3. And they're not my only power couple that I look to in Web3. I think that some people think that somehow that it's a bad thing to be creative with your partner. But Adabody, who you haven't had on the show yet, and Denise, I mean, if not for them, I wouldn't have even been able to put this piece together. Because Adabody was really the one that helped me understand how to compress the file. And he's working on putting together a tutorial or an online class, because I told him one of the important things about this drop wasn't just making historical significance, but bringing more equity and accessibility to the community in terms of the knowledge as to how to compress these files. Because as you've noticed, there's not enough musicians on Bitcoin. And a lot of it is because the knowledge of how to get the file down to where it needs to be without sacrificing quality is something that's not widely known. So him and his wife are a part of the story. He does all the music. She does most of the animation. And if not for them, I wouldn't even be making AI-generated music videos in the way that I do, because they are such a power couple that influenced me. Candice Marquette and Robert, who goes by Exponext, another one of my favorite Web3 power couples. Obviously, my sweetheart and my muse is Web3 and AI, because I'm not going to date someone who is just into Web2. That's the problem with that, is it's not that they're a bad person, but you cannot be in a dynamic and creative relationship with someone who refuses to accept that technology and change is part of our world. And so I think that, if women want to get angry about that, well, just set a boundary if somebody's crossing a boundary. But you don't know. I mean, like, what if that woman is being silly, and maybe that man is not necessarily someone that they're going to be romantically involved with, but what if, they can help each other? Because I'm not at all a feminist. I am an egalitarianist. So, and that's what ChatGPT told me. And ChatGPT didn't lie. Because egalitarianism incorporates...
You asked it, like, what am I?
No, actually, my friend John, who actually... he's my Tezos maxi friend. He's the one who got me on my first blockchain, which is Tezos. he's the one that asked ChatGPT if feminism was an out-of-date term in today's culture. And ChatGPT told him that he was an egalitarianist because what we both want, it's not so much equality, it's more equity. Because equality ignores factors like some people not making as much money as somebody else, whereas equity recognizes more of a sliding scale type of situation. And so it's more about providing equitable opportunities for both men and women. And so if we want, we shouldn't stand on our own as women. We need to join together with men, and men need to join together with us. And to me, it's not a surprise that one of the biggest power couples in Web3 is Kathleen and Arthur Brightman. And I've had the honor and the pleasure of meeting them. And one thing I noticed about them right away is just how natural they are together.
Now you've kind of touched on some people that are have influenced your life in certain ways from a musical standpoint. Who are some of the artists that you've have been inspirations for you along your career?
Well, there's a lot. Tori Amos, Radiohead, David Bowie, Beethoven, Chopin. I mean, Medeski, Martin and Wood, Melody Gardot.
When you want to relax and decompress, what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Oh my God. Do I relax? No, I'm kidding. I could listen to Azam Ali all day. She's done some stuff with Tool.
Oh, cool.
That's
yeah.
cool.
You know, and she's done some stuff in some of the Lord of the Rings movies, but like her voice is so hypnotic. I could literally listen to her all day long.
Like I was just about to ask, and then you said Lord of the Rings, so I was going to say, does she have like that ethereal voice and doing like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, wow, she's from another dimension.
Yeah, that's
I just
cool.
want to stay in that dimension all day.
Do you sing like that ever? Like, or do you only do opera?
Do you want me to sing another way?
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like are you down to like do some collabs at some point, like come back on the show and do like a jam session with us?
Oh my God.
And, like, create music.
Wait, you're a musician too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We wear many hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool.
Well, you know what? Collaboration is the name of the game. I can't talk. Is the name of the game. Whether it's with music, or visual art, or with business, one of my favorite activities is to facilitate strategic partnerships.
Cool.
Love
That's
it.
cool. You talked earlier about playing piano professionally while you were singing. Were you self-taught in piano, or is that something that you took lessons for?
Well, yeah. I mean, I studied when I was younger for about 4 years. I quit when I was 14, started playing again when I was 24, and then started playing piano professionally while singing when I was 34.
And was that the only instrument that you played?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a little guitar, but don't ask me to do it professionally because I'm not.
Yeah, we've got some right here. If you want
I'm
to pick up a guitar and wail away.
I'm not at that level where I should be paid. And violin, well, I cried because it sounded so nasty with the chicken scratching. I know with patience I'd get better, but you know, I mean, I would like to dabble, and I've done some percussion instruments here and there because I've played with classical orchestras, you know, within communities. And, you know, that is hard because the hardest thing, as you know, is to be like, oh, I got to come in now.
Yeah.
and because you're not in the whole thing. But like, I would love to actually at some point just dabble in some more instruments, not because I want to sit around and play the flute for 12 hours a day, but just because the physical experience is different, which then influences the compositional experience. And David Bowie obviously is one of my biggest influences, and I love that he plays all the different instruments, even though he doesn't play them all live. He has a point with doing that.
Yeah, they're in him.
Wow. Okay, that was brilliant.
Hey, thanks.
That is really awesome and very inspirational. I would love to collaborate at some point in the future.
In terms of singing for an audience, there's two aspects to it as far as I'm concerned. There's the side of just singing the song correctly, getting the notes right, and hitting all of the points of music that you want to hit.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the sense of connecting to the song and to the experience and the moment emotionally. And I'm wondering if there's any way in which you kind of get your head into that space when you're about to go onto stage to perform.
Well, I mean, I had grown up with, the whole intent with musical theater is that we are telling a story. And the idea that my sister so beautifully put, because she's actually been a professional on Broadway in New York, where she met her husband doing Mamma Mia. But I loved the way she explained it in a workshop when I was teaching music at elementary school. And she said, it is because you are so overwhelmed with the emotion that you have about a situation that now you must tell a story about it through singing. And so from a young age, because of theater, we were always taught to communicate emotionally. And the two main questions are, when you're thinking about communicating a piece, is who are you speaking to? And what do you want? Because you always want something, whether it's because you want them to listen to you or because you want them to understand something, because you want to help them. It is always about expressing something that you want to convey in order to turn a situation into your direction. So in other words, sales!
That's really cool. I've never thought of it that way.
Well, but I mean, it's a little deeper than that. Like over time, I had to mature the concept. And if I would love to get my friend on the show, Mahesh Baluzaria, jazz pianist here in Los Angeles, who I've known for over 13 years. And, you know, even though it's a whole nother concept that I had to come around to, you know, experiencing different ways to understand the concept of prayer, you know, which for some people it's a bad word. And it's like, but at its core, what is a prayer? It's an intention. Mm-hmm. And we always talk about setting your intention, and setting intentions is extremely important because it's how you talk to yourself. And he's one of the most phenomenal pianists in the world. And he says every time he goes on stage, the song is an offering. It is a prayer to God.
It's amazing.
I know. And I've always taken that from Mahesh. And I didn't take that until years later. And I'm like, oh, well, that's another level that I can go to in order to help, you know, convey what I'm trying to do more. Because for him, all of this is a deeply spiritual experience.
It almost removes the performance from it or something, because you're just being in that moment rather than thinking that, oh, I'm performing.
But you're always being, right? And I think that's something that it's a misconception people have about acting, right? That acting is, you know, that you're pretending to be something you're not. But Troy also comes from an acting background, the Meisner technique, which is just living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Mm-hmm. And having that mindset, you're never not being anything but yourself. You're just accessing a different part of yourself to communicate what's going on in those imaginary circumstances. And yeah, Troy comes from that school of thought as well.
Right.
So
it's very interesting.
The only people who are performing are people who are, you know, also, you know, pathologically lying.
Right. Yeah, and it is interesting to think that it's like prayer, because you're not judging yourself during a prayer. You're just, like you said, it's intentional, and you're just sharing.
So yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, the way I had always heard it phrased with reference to musical theater is that the emotions of the scene had gotten to a height that was so great that there was nothing you could do to express further than to sing, because there was nowhere further that you could take talking to show that level of excitement.
That's true.
So it's kind of that same thing.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But yeah, I've always loved musical theater.
That's great.
I don't know if you're...
What's one of your favorites?
One of my favorites. Well, I was the lead in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, so that one is always gonna hold a special place in my heart. Playing Pseudolus was the best.
Oh, that's a fun one.
It's a really fun one. But there are a lot of great new musicals coming out too. I saw Shucked in New York not too long ago, which was awesome. They just did Little Shop of Horrors with Evan Rachel Wood as the lead, and that was really great. So there's a lot of fun stuff still out there.
For sure.
Are you interested in ever doing any musical theater professionally?
Now, again, I'm interested in doing it again. I do feel like there was a period where I wasn't in love with the era, so I kind of gravitated away from it. But now that they have literally become the genre that incorporates all genres, and I think a lot of that can be attributed to Juan-Manuel Miranda and him doing what he did. And I don't say I can just think that. I think that's sort of evident that by bringing that to musical theater, that he kind of proved it, because before there was only so many styles.
And for those of you that don't know, he was responsible for Hamilton, In the Heights, and a couple of other things, I think. I know that he was in the new Mary Poppins movie, in Dick Van Dyke's role. So yeah, he's absolutely fantastic as a performer, writer, director, all of that, and has really done so much for musical theater and that community.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, I as a matter of fact, without giving too much away, there is a gentleman who is working on putting the first musical on blockchain.
Oh.
He's part of Violetta's community. I'll just give him a little shill.
He's also been on the show.
Yeah, Tony.
Oh no, maybe not. I thought you were talking about Max Pretends.
Way to go.
Because he's been putting together this whole thing. Okay, never mind.
Oh.
I thought it was Max Pretends.
Oh, Max is cool. I haven't met him, but like when I hear him speak, he's always fun, man, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, Tony has been putting something together, and I've connected Tony with my sister to help him, you know, understand and put together all the things he needs to have something start and end, you know, from production, what he needs to do. So I would actually be more interested in doing a musical like what Tony is doing, because he's trying to put it on blockchain and incorporate the benefits of blockchain. So yeah, of course I would be interested in doing a musical. I'm interested in doing anything that's Web3 and AI that is actually bringing value to people. And part of that is not forgetting that the aspects of Web 2 that worked and the aspects of Web 1 that work still work. And that while we're doing is just trying to take things to the next level, but it's about integration, not leaving anything behind. And I think that's where some projects get into trouble, is that they're removing some of the valuable aspects of Web 2, which is kind of ignoring things that people find as valuable in our world that they will still find as valuable.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to ask this last question before we get into the singing, which is that a lot of people that are artists in any artistic aspect are very concerned about AI, because they feel that it's taking jobs away. They feel that it's sucking the creativity out of certain things. Now, in everything that I've looked at and listened to, I've come to my own personal conclusion that it's really just a tool, and it can only help facilitate more efficiency and be able to take things off of your plate that you don't need to worry about, so you can worry about some more important creative aspects of whatever the project is. But a lot of people don't see it that way. Can you kind of tell us what your viewpoint is with respect to, is it all helpful, or are there hurtful elements to it? And do people have a right in the entertainment industries to be so afraid of it?
Well, let's think back to when cars were invented and it took out people with the buggy.
Yep.
For instance, I mean, that's one very notable.
The plow.
The plow is the first technological invention that started the agricultural revolution. You know your history, bro.
That's right.
But like when people get upset about the evolution of technology, it is ignorance.
It's because they need to research more and find out the facts.
I feel
find out the facts.
Find out the facts. I feel like Utah's response to that was very interesting, where he was saying like art is a reflection of life, and like us as the artist, we're like the vessel that's interpreting the experience into this art form.
Yeah.
And that he says AI was like missing that element. It could spit out a script, but it only had the data that we fed it.
Right. That basically there are humanistic aspects to the creative process that AI will never be able to replicate. And that's why it will always be something that will be an aid, but never a replacement.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in
that school of thought?
Yeah, I feel that way.
I think sometimes it's okay for AI to replace us. And I don't care if that's controversial. As we know in past...
She doesn't care. Mic drop.
I really don't. In Pasadena, I think it's this month, I will double check.
She doesn't care.
Well, actually, I care about food quite a bit. And so that's why we're going to talk about food. So it's the first fast food place completely run by AI robots.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah, you heard about that. It's like...
What place is it?
It's in Pasadena. I can't remember the name. I have to look it up.
McDonald's?
Chicken Nugget Land?
No, it's not. It's not McDonald's. They have their own name. But, you know, in I don't want to say opportunities, in instances where it makes sense to replace humans, I don't see why we shouldn't take advantage of that. Because what sort of creative thinking needs to be done in a system that's already automated? The In-N-Out Burger.
Oh, yeah, it's Cali Express.
Yeah, Cali Express. I'm so glad you found it.
Yeah.
But so In-N-Out Burger, I mean, that is pretty much automated right now. I mean, like, unless they're going to start changing the burgers every 30 seconds or something like that, in something that's already automated, that's using humans, doesn't it make sense to automate the process entirely and have fast food experience with robots?
But will the robots know the secret menu at In-N-Out?
Well, yeah,
Absolutely,
just
they'll be
feed it.
programmed
Just
in.
feed it? Okay. So if I order
Any robot that doesn't know animal style cannot work it in and out. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
because I just learned some of the secret menu this last time I went and ordered.
Oh boy.
Yeah?
Mustard grilled. What do you
Mustard grilled.
What do you guys know about mustard grilled?
I don't know anything about mustard grilled.
At In-N-Out?
What
Dan
what
knows
is-
about
what is
mustard grilled.
mustard grilled?
The chef will grill one half your
The
burger.
chef.
The chef will grow. I
The
love it.
chef at In-N-Out.
And then once one side is grilled, he'll spray the other side with
Spray mustard.
He'll spray mustard onto it and then flip
Yeah.
it over. And it's so good. It changed the
Wow.
burger. It changed my In-N-Out experience.
I'm going to have to try one of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, but these are things that can be automated. So
Yeah.
anything that can be automated should be replaced by something with generative AI.
See, but maybe the chef at In-N-Out one day will be like inventing something new.
Chef, what are you talking
The
about?
chef at In-N-Out.
No, but I think
he's gonna be inspired one day, and he's just gonna off the cuff.
no, but you know
invent
what?
something new. Is the AI?
I think
gonna
the point
invent
is that
something new
if
for the
the
hidden
AI
menu.
can take over that automated process, then that chef can really go and be a chef somewhere and can take the time to experiment with recipes and go be a chef somewhere as
Okay.
opposed to flipping burgers.
Maybe he'll
Well, if
or
we're
he just doesn't have a job. Sorry.
Or he just
don't
doesn't
be
have a
sorry.
job.
well, in
Sorry, chef.
sorry, chef. But if we're talking about like a 5-star restaurant or just a restaurant where the menu is changing often, because that's part of the whole.
Culinary experience.
Exactly. I know that we're going to see a future where certain things are going to be automated, but not everything needs to be automated, nor should everything be automated. So we'll see collaborations where perhaps the robots will take over the function of cooks in the kitchen, but not the chef. And the chef will then work with more robots. But even the chef will be using AI to help generate recipes. I have friends that are chefs, and they don't get intimidated when I show them websites that can help them generate recipes using AI just as a tool. And even there's a company out there, Uply or Liftly, you'll have to look it up, but they assist baristas with coffee. But even baristas that I've talked to about, don't worry about being, well, maybe at Starbucks they'll be, because it's all automated, would be replaced by robots. But specialty coffee shops where there's all kinds of, variances within the menu, the robots can work with the baristas. But the barista said because so many nuances and temperature are required all the time, and then we're also implementing aspects of latte art, that the chefs would the robots would work in assistance and collaboration with the baristas, but not
make
replace
the turnaround
them.
time faster.
Yeah, it'll make the turnaround time faster. And, the only thing that people sometimes fear is, of course, people are going to do bad things with the AI. But guess what? People have been doing bad things since there were people.
Right.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
But people do good things too.
Yeah.
AI saves lives.
And you can't live from a place of fear like that where, you're constantly worried about what the worst thing that can happen is. You kind of just have to move forward and people are going to be people. So
we just need the AI to protect us.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. If you're so worried about AI replacing you flipping burgers, well, then maybe you should get a different job.
Yeah.
Like it's and I've seen it written so many places online, and it's the quote that says, AI isn't going to replace you. Someone who uses AI is going to replace you.
Right.
That's right. And if you get a job as a model for artists, you know, when you go to one of those classrooms, you take off all your clothes. AI can't do that job. Right. So, so I'm just saying, you know, there are jobs out there that are specifically for humans. So if any of you want to go and take your clothes off for some artists, you know, that's make a couple bucks.
Fair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I embrace AI. I used AI to create the art for my opera piece. I used Midjourney. I used a whole lot of other things in what was originally a video, which I had to not use because file size is one of the constraints with ordinals. But then I pixelated it using the feature on DaVinci Resolve called Mosaic Blur. But, you know, I use AI to get ideas all the time. I don't even know how I used to function without AI.
You're so technologically advanced. I used the flim flam to squeeze it through the shigamarole, and now we got the boopity boop, and it's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, but it's so, I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and even the whole phenomenon of the tractor, you know, farmers were originally afraid of the tractor. I mean, Gary Vee was the first person to talk about that, but we adjusted.
That's where I got that from.
Also had Gary Vee on the show.
Shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I love Gary Vee. But I mean, he was talking about that like a long time ago, and he's obviously very pro technology. I mean, I admire him for a lot of reasons, and you know, I mean, I just don't see any of these advancements as a bad thing. And I think we need to stop demonizing kids in schools for using technology.
Right.
Because it's like we're literally demonizing evolution in technology. And how can we do that? I mean, that's not saying that they shouldn't misuse things, but we should just teach more responsible and ethical practices, but not trying to keep someone from something, because the more you gatekeep something from someone, the more they're just going to rebel.
Well, and in reality, the use of all of these things is only going to lead to further technological advancements that could save lives, ultimately, one way or another. So to inhibit that growth, I think is a mistake.
No, it's true. I mean, the other night I was having a nightmare, and I went on to AI Dream Interpreter, and not only did the AI interpret my dream for me, but the AI said I needed to talk about my problem openly.
Oh.
It said, seek counsel.
With a human?
With a human, yes. The AI told me to talk to a human
wow.
about my problems.
Did you listen to it?
I
just ignored it?
I did what the AI said, and then I was a better human because AI told me to talk to a human about how I was feeling.
And is that just Chat GPT?
No, it's called AI Dream Interpreter.
Oh, sorry. I was...
Because someone in Spaces told me about that, because what you do with it's a generative program, but it's a generative program where you can type in the contents of your dream, and then it will provide an interpretation for you. But in my case, AI has been giving me advice on, because then I'll tell the AI, well, I think I dreamed this because of in my waking life this happened, and then the AI said, oh, well, it sounds like you need to tell that person how you're feeling.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's the one. But so just like it can only handle so much information at first, but then tell AI why you think you're having that dream, and AI will tell you, okay, well, this is a problem you're having, and this is how you can solve it.
Now, does any part of you get concerned about the idea that like all of this data, where is it going? And maybe there's like a file on you somewhere where they're like, okay, well, she input into this system that she was having this thought about her real life, so now we know that she's doing this in her real life and that, and like it has like this whole idea of who you are, what your like schedule is like, what your habits are.
Well, I do practice I practice proper hygiene and log into a VPN in public, don't you?
Fair.
I mean,
I should do that.
They already have all that information on her.
Yeah,
and
got
you.
It. Yeah,
just on
from the minute we were born.
Phone. Yeah, just on yourself. Like
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also not worried that the paparazzi is looking into me.
Oh, I don't even mean the paparazzi. I just mean this idea that, like,
FBI?
I'm sure you've seen, like, some of these documentaries that talk about Cambridge Analytica data farming and how there's, like, all of this data that exists about every individual. And it's like, even if you turned off all of your stuff on Facebook when that was, like, the major popular platform in terms of sharing your information, someone that is one of your friends that has those options turned on can be the reason that your information is then shared. And one way or another, they're getting your data. And that seemed to be a major concern for people.
Out there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what is privacy?
Nothing.
I mean,
especially all this digital.
Yeah.
Like everything is.
So, and like right now we're having a very public conversation, and I actually put together a piece that was commissioned by my Tezos Maxi friend John Mickle, and it's called "What is Privacy" for a reason, because it is sort of non-existent. And so the most private thing you can do is have a conversation with someone like, in public. And if you have something really negative to say, and it's okay because we have to work through those negative things so you can get to joy and love on the other side, it's good to have those conversations like in person as much as you can. I mean, you can be a little bit concerned, and it's okay to, keep in mind sometimes when you're doing something that could be recorded or people are selling your data, it's okay to have a little bit of mindfulness about the way you're conducting yourself. But if you're just going to live paranoid and think that everybody cares about every little thing that you do, well, I mean,
then you're going to be Jesse Ventura living off the grid in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, we can live in a place of fear. Like, oh no, I'm not going to go on a plane because it might crash. Well, you're more likely to get caught in a car crash. I'm not advocating for people to do things that are obviously going to get them in trouble with their workplace.
No.
I'm not advocating for that at all, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't take certain precautions, but I think there's a level to where you just have to understand that part of life is taking risks. And as you guys have probably known, there's the part of the end of a poem that I live a lot of my life goes by is the last sentence is that the person who risks nothing has nothing, does nothing, and is nothing. Only the person who risks is free.
I love that. And, that just gives me this feeling to where my emotions are at a state that they couldn't go any higher without song. So I think it's time for you to sing.
Yeah, no, it's time for you. It's time for us to sing. But in terms of people getting your data, I think that's where data that is anonymous is going to become a lot more important. But that's a whole nother conversation because there are actually companies out there using anonymous data.
For what?
For all kinds of things.
That's the whole part of the other conversation.
That's a
whole.
That's
it's a rabbit hole.
That's
it's
a whole other rabbit hole,
yeah.
And I don't want to
let's
necessarily
not go down that rabbit
That's
hole.
for
Okay.
episode 2 when you come back to do the music collaboration.
Then we'll
go
talk
down the
about
rabbit
all
hole.
that.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. For right now, let's get into the music. I understand you wanted to do a little bit of an a cappella piece.
I would love to do that for you.
Okay, fantastic. Would you like to set it up at all, or you just want to get right into it?
I mean, like, if you're afraid the microphone's not going to pick me up, we can certainly put it on a stand or
I'm
something.
sorry, I meant set it up, like give context to what you're about to sing.
That's what you mean.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
The piece is called O mio babino caro.
Do mio babino caro.
Okay. So that is in Italian, of course. And it was and since we spoke about the first aria that I sang from Gianni Schicchi by Giuseppe Verdi, I felt that it is appropriate to do that here. It's not that I won't do others for you in the
Sounds
future.
very appropriate.
It's very appropriate.
Yes. Well, let's get into it. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just speak to our loving audience one more time. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here today. We've had a fantastic conversation with Christina Aguinaga, who you're going to want to follow on Twitter, and look out for an upcoming drop, which is going to be the first drop of any sort of opera music on the Bitcoin blockchain. So that's going to be unbelievable, a historical moment for sure. And we are about to get an a cappella performance from Christina, which I'm very excited about. It's a rainy day here in Burbank, but I'm feeling the sunshine in this room. It's been good vibes all around.
Yeah, it's you, Dave.
It's me.
Dave and Dave. Can I get a little bit of reverb? Thank you. What singer doesn't like reverb?
Is it okay if I sit right here? Is that going to distract your performance?
You need to ask my permission to sit. I love it, Dave.
I love it.
Wait, let me practice. Yeah, sure. Atreyu, say my name.
Atreyu!
Falcor!
Never-ending story. All right, let's hear you.
Sure.
Now it sounds like this one's...
Yours is picking up a lot of reverb now, and it sounds like he put a little delay on there, too. Wow. All right. Okay, so for those in the audience who don't know, reverb is short for reverberation, which refers to the echo that you're hearing. And in this particular style, there was natural reverb in the buildings that were architected specifically in order to amplify the sound because microphones obviously weren't invented until the 20th century. Mi piace bello, bello, quanto riporta
Bravissimo, bravissimo.
Grazie.
That's absolutely mind-blowing.
That was
like
so
that's
good.
mind-blowing to hear that. Like, in
I know
person.
she's just sitting chatting with us on the couch, and then all of a sudden
That's
she gets up
wild.
and it's like
Some of those high notes, holy crap!
Unbelievable.
How do you get yourself to hit those?
Practice.
practice makes average, Dave. There you go. It's in you.
But to be fair, singing always felt more natural than speaking to me.
See,
It's less vulnerable than speaking. But that's where I think there's beauty in that, because I'm not going to necessarily be as vulnerable with one person as I am with the next. But in general, because singing does feel more natural, I would like to hopefully envision that there is somewhere in the multiverse where people completely communicate in music.
You said that was kind of the first piece that your teacher thrust upon you. That sounds like quite a difficult piece. Was that a little bit daunting to have someone present that to you and say, I expect you to learn this?
No, I've always just been told that you're supposed to accept whatever challenges come your way.
Christina's not intimidated by anything.
Well,
and
that's not true. I mean, like when I was a little younger, because I was young, I was 14. I didn't think of that. When I got a little bit older and it was in my programming that I needed to start being intimidated or feeling, lesser of myself, I sometimes believed those things. And then I realized, I don't have to believe this because it's actually not true. And through time, as somebody reminded me of what is the power in being a musician, we are able to learn to do anything as a musician, because how do you learn to do anything? You practice.
Yes.
But also, I had to come to a place where it comes down to serving your community. Just because you can learn to do anything, does that mean you should? And is that a great use of your time? So again, it's empowering to have that sort of mindset and to have that strength in yourself. But at the same time, listen to your community. What should you be practicing? What should you be putting your time into?
Can I ask you to grace us with one more song? Would you?
I mean, sure. If
you don't absolutely have to. You have such a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
That was unbelievable, and I'd love to hear one more, but I don't want to.
No,
pressure.
No, it's under pressure.
Pushing down on me, pushing down on you.
That was it, huh? What great job!
Yeah, hey. All right.
And you want another opera piece?
I want whatever your heart tells you to sing right now.
I want Alanis Morissette.
Oh my goodness. I don't have those memorized. Guys, here's a fun fact about me. Like, if I don't sing a song in English for a while, I forget it. And then I have to review. But the pieces that I've learned with opera, generally I don't forget them, which is odd because it's not like my first language is Italian.
Well, that may be why, because it probably takes more to, really retain that information because it's not your first language. So
you
it
have
sticks,
a point.
you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're familiar with La Boheme?
La Vie Boheme. Oh, that's from Rent. No, that's not La Boheme.
Actually, Rent is based on La Boheme.
Yeah. I knew that.
Yeah,
that's
you
why
knew
I
that,
said
right?
it.
Of course,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, sure you did.
So La Boheme, which is also...
So La Boheme is also about
Puccini.
Youngsters that can't pay their rent and have AIDS?
No, I mean, she dies.
Oh.
Of course, at the end, But it's not of AIDS. Because we didn't have HIV that time.
Different disease.
Yeah,
It was way further
different
back.
time, different disease.
Yeah, it's like the bubonic plague or something.
Mimi and Rodolfo.
Mimi.
But I think her name is Mimi also in Rent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's still based on that. I mean, so West Side Story is, it's a modern take on Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
La Boheme. So this is not a piece that Mimi sings, but that Musetta sings. It's often referred to as Musetta's Waltz, and it's called Quando Men Vo.
Quando Men Vo.
Yeah.
Okay, here's Quando Men Vo.
Quando men vo sul letto per la via, da gente soste mira. Io bellezza mia, tutto ricerca in me, ricerco in me da capo a piedi.
E da Sapporo la promosia sentir che da gloci transpira e dai polezzi vezzi intender sa alti a colzi vita tutti mi tui a rivetio tutta mia gria
I love how expressive you are when you sing, how you throw your whole body into it, and I can't wait for people to see the video of this performance. That's absolutely fantastic.
It's like you're like checking your body structure, your mouth structure. There's like so many like it's like fine tuning as you go. It seems like I was like watching like your diaphragm, I was watching like your mouth, and like sometimes like your whole body is like
it's awesome.
Thank
like
you.
you're like fully engaged, like every muscle in your body. It's wild.
Love
It is absolutely
we are
wild.
connected to our
Yeah.
bodies, and if you think about it, when you know something is right about a situation, your body knows. When something is wrong about a situation, your body knows. Your body never lies.
My mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. All right, and with that,
Well done, David. You
Hey,
stole
thanks,
the show
man.
again,
Yep.
man. Well done.
it's all
Look at
about
him
me and my
go.
singing.
Look at him go.
All about Dave all the time.
All about me all the
When
time.
I first met him, I was like, this guy is all about himself.
All
I
about
love
himself.
it.
His head is so far up
I
his
met
ass.
Dave at an ordinal event, and today we're talking ordinals.
Yeah, and the event was called Ordinals Are Dead. What?
It was.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
but
all right.
they're not, in
They're
fact.
not. In fact, that was a
It says that
little
on my
joke.
bumper sticker on my car,
Does
okay?
it?
Yeah.
That's
And if you read something and somebody says it,
It's true.
especially if they've made a lot of money on it.
And especially if it's on a bumper sticker.
Yes!
Yes. Well, I really, really appreciate you being with us for so long, giving so much of your time and energy singing those
And your
songs
talent.
for us. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
You're
Can't
just
wait
God-given
for,
talent that you don't put any energy into. It.
Right.
You're just born with it. You just fall off the cuff. You just open your mouth and it's like,
Maybe she was born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe it's Maybelline. But yeah, no, we really appreciate you being here with us, taking the journey to get over to this side of town, and it's been a fantastic interview. So thank you so much.
No,
Absolutely.
thank you, Dave. And Dave, I mean, and now it's time to get instead of going to In-N-Out, should I get a Whopper?
yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Should I
think
sing
so.
the
But-
Burger
but-
King song?
Yeah.
have it your
kidding, I'm
rule.
have it your way.
I'm kidding.
At BK.
At BK.
Have it your way. You rule.
You rule.
You rule.
But yeah, no, thank you again to our lovely audience for being with us and for coming back after we got rugged by Twitter. And we will be here next Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So definitely join us then. And we will see you next time.
Much love.
Much love.
Much love, guys. Thank you.
Sapo Studios
Grazie.
out. Grazie.
Grazie.